40 years ago today marks the official release of the first ever Alien film, Ridley Scott's terrifying masterpiece that launched an entire franchise as well as catapulted Sigourney Weaver into superstardom. And also, for some reason, they made an Alien game on Atari 2600. Alien the video game was developed and released by 20th Century Fox in 1982, 3 years after the release of the film, but at a time where movies were starting to get adapted into arcade games as well as home consoles. What sort of tactical survival horror video game did the masterminds at 20th Century Fox conjure up in 1982? Find out all about it on this edition of Friday Night Arcade. It's a Pac-Man clone. That's pretty much the whole game. Alien on Atari 2600 is Pac-Man, and when you get past this screen, you get a bonus stage that's basically a Frogger clone. Then you go back to the Pac-Man screen. No, really, that's Alien on Atari 2600. Okay, so it's a tiny bit more complex than that. The object on this screen is to collect all of the pellets, just like in Pac-Man, but at least the manual tries to come up with a movie tie-in. Instead of chomping pellets, you're going around smashing every alien egg you see before they hatch, instantly making you smarter than every single character in the Alien franchise history. Also, you get a flamethrower. I've always wished Pac-Man could pick up a flamethrower and unleash hell on those stupid ghosts, and this game makes that dream a reality for me. Well, almost. So, just like in the movie, the flamethrower acts more as a loose deterrent for the aliens, and you still can't actually kill them. If you time it just right, they'll turn around and go the other way, but sometimes that doesn't even work and they'll still kill you. Also, for some reason, the flamethrower doesn't work when you're around the edges of the screen. I'm not sure if that's supposed to represent the outer hull of the Nostromo, and thus you wouldn't want to go burning a hole in it, or if it was just an oversight. You can't turn around or face up or down either, so you're just kind of stuck aiming outward and you can't fire. The manual calls these pulsars, and if you pick one up, suddenly you can take out the aliens. I totally remember that from the film and not Pac-Man. You can adjust the difficulty switches and make it to where this doesn't work though, if you want a more hardcore alien experience. And don't confuse them with prizes. The prizes just give you points and not mystical alien exterminating powers. And this area on the side of the screen where you can jump to the other side is called the Hyperwarp Passage. Well, I don't think that was in the movie. Maybe that was supposed to be like the air ducts, except the aliens typically use those to move around. The manual tells you these are helpful for losing the aliens if they're chasing you, since they usually won't go through the passage. The manual gives several hints from the game's programmer, Dallas North, which was actually just an alias for Doug Neubauer. Neubauer programmed Star Raiders, but he also made a handful of movie adaptations under the Dallas North pseudonym when he freelanced for 20th Century Fox, including that Atari 2600 adaptation of MASH that the public had been desperately clamoring for. After you smash all the eggs, you go to the Frogger screen, where you have to make your way to the top for a prize. Unlike Frogger, it's just a plain black screen with waves of aliens moving across, and you can only move straight up or down. You also have an 8-second time limit. I must be missing something because I never could make it to the top, but this is considered a bonus stage, so if you die, at least you don't lose a life. Overall, this isn't necessarily a bad game, it's just definitely not what people were expecting when they picked up a game based on Alien. In fact, the commercial wisely doesn't even bother to show any of the game's footage.
A great movie has now become an exciting new video game, Alien. One of the new games of the century from 20th Century Fox.
10 seconds, there you go. It's an Alien game, go buy it. Talk about false advertisement. The sound effects are pretty harsh on the ears too, from general footsteps to picking up one of the pulsars. Oof. The little animations for the aliens are okay, I guess, except they look more like the Shriekers from the Tremors sequels than they do actual xenomorphs. What, you've never seen any of the sequels to Tremors? You didn't know they're all the way up to Tremors Part 6 now, straight to DVD? Starring the dad from Family Ties? They've even announced a 7th film is in the works. Alright, anyway, so as far as Atari 2600 Pac-Man clones go, you could do a lot worse than Alien. Heck, it's a better Pac-Man clone than the actual Atari 2600 version of Pac-Man. At least the eggs actually look like the power pellets from Pac-Man instead of Tic Tacs, and the aliens aren't a flickery mess like the ghosts. It's just weird that they chose Pac-Man and Frogger as the games to clone for this material. Clearly, they just picked a couple games that were popular and slapped the alien egg on the cartridge. I could think of a few other Atari-era games that might have worked better. You could have done something like the second screen in Cosmic Arc, where you have to send a shuttle down and pick up all the facehuggers before they wipe out the planet. You could do Keystone Capers, but in reverse, where the alien is chasing you across multiple floors of the spaceship. Frankly, if you want a genuine genuine Alien experience on the Atari 2600 that's actually kind of neat to see in action, check out Xenophobe. This was an arcade game that got numerous ports, and the 2600 version ain't half bad. I've talked about it a little more in depth in one of my previous videos, but basically you're just going around this space station trying to eradicate an alien infestation. To say this was inspired by the Alien franchise would be an understatement. You've got these crawlers that look like facehuggers, and then the big aliens too. Alien on Atari 2600 is what it is. It's not great, it's not awful. I can't really recommend picking it up unless you're just an absolute mega fan of the franchise and need to collect any Alien memorabilia you see. Or maybe you just want to have an Atari box with that iconic alien egg on it as a conversation piece in your game room. I don't know. This is just one of those things that happened. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please don't text and drive, and I'll see you next time on Friday Night Arcade.